Only mode.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Awesome Agility, our webinar for being data-driven in a customer-obsessed world. I'm Ian, I'm the Enterprise Agile Leader for Intuit, and I'm joined here with Raju, our India Agile Leader. We'll do a quick round of introductions, and then we'll get started. So, first, a little bit about me. For those of you who haven't encountered me before, I am from New Zealand. That's that country down in the corner of the world there. Started my career as a software developer. And over the course of my career, something went horribly wrong. I found myself in engineering leadership, leading engineering teams in countries around the world. And at this point, I'm now living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm the Enterprise Agile Leader for Intuit. That means I own the agility program that we deploy across all of Intuit's global sites. Let's pass on to Raju, and he's going to introduce himself.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Raju Usirikala. I grew up in a beach town called Bhimanipatnam in Andhra Pradesh, India, and then studied in Kakinada and Kharagpur, graduation and post-graduation. Then moved to a company, started with Tata Consultancy, then joined Visa International, worked in Oracle, Salesforce.com, now here at Intuit for the last 13 years. Worked in various locations, but right now I'm based in Bangalore. Started off as a programmer and then moved up to do various management roles, project, program, quality, development management. Now I'm doing agile leadership and also coaching here at Intuit India. A little bit about my personal interests. So I'm very passionate about technology, anything tech world, and also love to work with people and the teams. So also passionate about mindfulness. Anything outdoors is my thing.
All right, thanks, Raju. So we're sharing a little bit of information about ourselves, and we're doing that very consciously because one of the things we truly believe here at Intuit is building high-performing teams is really anchored around making these strong social connections. So we always like to make sure that our teams get to know each other and really start to unlock the fact that we're people and not just drones that are delivering work every day. So that's something that's really important to us. We wanted to highlight for you. Let's move on. Talk about Intuit, Raju.
Yeah, a little bit about Intuit. So Intuit is one of the leading financial technology companies in the world. So we have key products like TurboTax to solve the personal taxes, and then QuickBooks for the small business finances, everything end to end. And then ProConnect is for solving the financial professionals to do their customers' taxes and finances. And Mint is the personal finance. We are all built on our mission as powering the prosperity around the world. That is our company mission. So we are on that journey.
So Intuit is recognized as one of the world's leading companies. And the reason that we're showing you this slide is just to let you know that we're going to give you a little peek behind the curtain here, and hopefully you get some insight as to why we achieve some of these awards that we do, and give you some opportunities to apply some of this to your own organizations. All right, so today we're just going to talk about two main topics. The first topic is talking about agility outcomes and making sure that we're using data to build these really amazing, high-performing teams and organizations. And then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about measuring around customer obsession and driving towards customer delight. Right, so these are two topics that we feel go hand in hand, very important to us here at Intuit.
Okay, let's start with agility. That's the agility outcomes that Ian was alluding towards. It's not about the agile, right? So here, when we say agility outcomes, there are few of them I wanted to call out here. In a perfect world, life is like that. And what are the agility outcomes to get to that perfect world, right? So this is about the employee engagement and exhilarated employees. It is about like doing your best work of your life and also best time of your life being in that zone. Next agility outcome is the speed. Who doesn't want speed? So it's about getting to the customer benefit quickly. And the next one is the quality. So we are all looking for the top-notch quality and also the security. So the technical excellence is the important agility outcome also. Next one is the predictability. Every time, every sprint, every quarter, every year, what we say, what we want to deliver, we are delivering it. So that's, everybody wants to see that predictability from the companies. And the next agility outcome is the productivity. So we always want for the maximum productivity. That doesn't mean working for 24/7 long hours to get to that productivity, but the rate at which you are delivering the customer benefit is what we mean by the maximum productivity here. So all these agility outcomes are in service of the customer, right? See, the delighted customers is what the other agility outcome is. Everyone wants to have it. These are the different agility outcomes that we are talking about when we say agility, not agile. Moving on to the Intuit Agile, our vision is to world-class agility outcomes through enterprise-wide adoption of agile and design thinking principles. Just want to cover the principles and the agility outcomes in a structured way here. So the one we built on the into agile and design principles, they are backed by our practices. Like practices here, I mean, like agile practices could be daily stand-ups, storyboards, sprint planning, story hurdles, inception planning. There are various practices out there which are backing these principles and in service of the agility outcomes we just talked about. That's employee accelerated employees, perfect quality, guaranteed predictability, the speed, the extreme speed we are talking about, the maximum productivity, and at the end, customer delight. These are all the agility outcomes by applying these principles and the practices. We are all in the service of our stakeholders, employee, customer, partners, and shareholders. So we saw that agility outcomes as well as the principles. So now it's about how do we measure this, right? So this session is mainly focused on the measuring the metrics, measuring the different outcomes, right? So I want to take an example here so that it can be better understood. So let's say, for example, speed. Speed, everybody knows, deliver it to the customer faster. How do you see that? How do you measure this, right? It could be through a story cycle time. It could be one of the metrics. The cycle time is like, when you start the work and when you finish the work, the difference between that is the cycle time we talk about. So if it is shorter, you're going high speed. So how do you achieve this metric, right? We have a metric, but then there are practices around it, right? So what are these agile practices that could help you get to that metrics? The flight crews is like the people who are working in that for delivering the customer benefit or the story, and the stories could be smaller in size. That also helps you in delivering faster. And also story hurdles, where you work on the story, what is the feature that you wanted to build. That's the story hurdle. You have the discussion before actually developing it. So these are the different practices you can adopt to get to that speed, high speed. But how do you know that these practices are also being done correctly? So you can have a metrics for that as well. So like that, you can also look at all the stories or the features that you are working on, whether they have flight crews, are they sized enough, or the size small enough so that you can deliver it in a small chunks, and also whether you have the story hurdles. These are the different leading practice metrics that can help you to get to your outcome metrics here, right? That is for the speech. So this is an example here, but there are, if you look at it, there is no one silver bullet, like, this is the best metric you can have it to get to your agility outcomes. It depends on the different situations, right? Like, it's like asking, what's your favorite color? Depends on what you're drawing, what your situation there. Like that, agility metrics could be the thing that you are in current situation and what you wanted to achieve in the outcome, right? So the next question is, okay, what metric I should pick up? I mean, is there any big list of metrics that can be looked upon? Yes, you have an answer here. So we are like this picture says, it's not like you're giving you a carrot and not giving you anything more. But actually, there is right after this webinar, we will share you with uh, one document where you can see various types of metrics for different agility outcomes we are looking at. You can, I mean, that is not an exhaustive list. I mean, you can pick up the things that are that will please you. Otherwise, you can build your own, but you get an idea, right? So this is the booklet. We'll share it, the soft copy, after the webinar. This is the first segment where we talked about agility outcomes and how do we measure. I just want to leave you with a one professional tip here. It's always about a team sport. Agile is a team sport, right? So don't ever measure for an individual performance or individual thing. It's always measure the team performance and team velocity and everything team. That's what I wanted to leave you with. And moving on to the next segment where Ian talks over.
All right, thank you, Raju. So let's move on to the second section here, which is where we're going to talk about customer-obsessed metrics, right? At Intuit, customer obsession is really at the heart of and soul of everything that we do, and we really want to move towards that customer delight. So look at these two here. These are our delighted customers. They're sort of super excited and super delighted with our products, and maybe that's true. Or maybe your customers might feel a bit more like these two. They're not so happy and they've got some serious problems, maybe problems that they have, maybe problems with your products, or maybe even worse, maybe we just don't know. We don't know what the customer's thinking, and that makes it really difficult to understand and go after them. So let's start with where we like to start, which is with our vision. Now, rather than just sort of go back to either Intuit Agile or the Intuit vision, we thought we'd give you another example. Let's talk about an e-commerce example. So here's a vision statement of an e-commerce company. To be Earth's most customer-centric company, where customers can find and discover anything they want. Maybe problem. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me do that again. So the vision of this e-commerce company to be Earth's most customer-centric company where customers can find and discover anything they want to buy online. Now that's a real vision statement. I'm sure you could guess the guess the company that's related to. It's one of the major e-commerce players in the world. Now, if that's the aspirational state, okay, great. So what are we going to do next? Well, the next thing we know what our aspirational sort of out of the box vision is. The next thing we're going to do is start to talk about those customers. Who are we solving for, right, in order to deliver that vision? Now, your customers are not faceless, nameless people, right? So this isn't just a sort of generic customer. What we want to do is lean in and identify those specific customer personas that we're going to go after. All right, so we're going to start to frame up what we call that sort of customer persona canvas, if you like. What are the characteristics of the specific customer? And let's even name that customer, give them a name so that the team can rally around that. So I'm going to use an example here. This example is Hannah, the busy doctor. All right, now Hannah is a medical professional, obviously, and Hannah is a person who shops online 2 to 3 times a week. Obviously, something that's very important to us as an e-commerce organization, if we were an e-commerce company. And then Hannah is also a busy parent with small children. So we're starting to paint this mental picture of our customer persona, and so that when we test out things, we're going to test them out with these customer persona types to make sure that they're resonating with our target customer segments. All right, so we start off identifying those. So now we know who our customers are. Now let's talk about what their problems are. And this is where we embrace our design thinking approach here at Intuit that we call design for delight. And an element of that is around establishing deep customer empathy. Now, there are various ways that we do that. I'm not going to go into those today. Hopefully you've had some experience that with other webinars from us. If not, we can certainly look for a future one for that. But the outcome of establishing deep customer empathy is identifying the customer problem statement or statements. And it reads like this. I am that customer persona. I'm trying to do something to get a desired result, but I've got this problem and it's stopping me from achieving that. And there's a reason for that problem. The root cause of that And then there's this which makes me feel. This is one of the most important things. If you can't identify the strong emotion associated with your customer problem, then you might not be going after the most powerful customer problem out there. All right, so really try and understand those key emotions. I'm super angry about this, or I'm super happy about this, or whatever it is. Now, this talk is about measurement. So what's missing from this is another statement, which is which can be measured by. So we really want to know how we're going to measure this customer problem so that we know that we're starting to have a positive impact on it. So we're going to add in that I'm trying to do this thing which can be measured by a specific success metric, okay? All right, so let's go back to our example of Hannah. Hannah is a busy doctor. I'm Hannah, the busy doctor. I'm trying to find a product that I love on the website, right? So she's an e-commerce shopper 2 to 3 times a week. She can't tell if she really likes the product, but I can't tell if I really like the product because the pictures on the e-commerce website don't show enough detail, right? And that makes her feel frustrated and disengaged from the shopping experience, right? Now, how would we measure that? I think we can measure that by how often Hannah drops an item into the shopping cart. So how often I add to the cart is the success metric that we're going to go after to understand that we're helping a positive impact with Hannah. All right. So now we've framed up our customer problem for that customer in support of our vision. Next thing we're going to do is sort of leap to the end and go to the ideal state. Just like we showed you before with the ideal state of the agility outcomes, there is an ideal state for the customer. And that is often framed as in a perfect world, just like we showed you before. In a perfect world, the customer can do something perfectly. Not just do something okay, but really reach out and do something that's almost too perfect beyond the limits, right? Now, we want to measure that as well. So we are wildly successful when the metric that we are going to use, maybe the same metric from our customer problem statement, approaches a particular value. And it's possible that we may add other metrics there, and those are approaching other values. Right? So let's also look at the Hannah example there. So in a perfect world, Hannah the busy doctor can find multiple products that she loves every single time she shops on our website. So notice the aspirational language there. It's not just find a product she loves once a week. It's multiple products every single time she comes, and she's coming there 2 to 3 times a week. Right now, that might be like way too aspirational, but that's exactly what we want a perfect world statement to feel like, a little bit beyond the reach of our abilities. Now, we're going to be wildly successful when that add to cart ratio, which is the same one from the customer problem statement, approaches 300%. That means that for every visit, she added 3 products to her shopping cart. Right, so that's the articulation of that from a metrics perspective. All right, so customer problem, ideal state, that's taking us to this point. Then we are going to start to do something, but let's try and articulate what it is that we do around here to try and drive towards the vision, because the things that we do are going to be in support of that mission or that mission statement for our team. So remember the vision statement of our e-commerce company? Well, the mission statement, and again, this isn't the real mission statement from that company, but might sound a bit like this. What we do around here in our team is to deliver compelling online shopping experiences to our customers, right? Like that's how we are going to move towards that aspirational state of being a customer-centric company where they can find and discover everything that they want to buy online. All right, so now we know what we do around here, and everything we start to try to deliver fits into that mission statement in support of that aspirational vision. All right, so now what? Well, now we start delivering features, sort of, right? Yes, that's true. We are going to now start to identify the features that we want to deliver to support our mission and our vision. But actually, what we want to be more thinking about is not delivering features, but delivering benefit, right? It's not enough just to check the boxes and say we delivered feature, delivered feature, delivered feature, if it didn't actually help, all right? So what we want to do is get that feature out the door, attempt to deliver the benefit, but most importantly, we want to learn something from that. So we're going to deliver that feature, we're going to watch those metrics and see if it actually helped. right? And we're going to bring that learning back and adjust our plans if we need to. All right, so that's the end-to-end kind of state: vision, customer problem. Look at your ideal state. Talk about what your mission statement is for your team or your organization. Start identifying those customer benefit elements and features you want to deliver. Get them out there, and then bring the data back in and see if it's actually helping. And if it's not, then go back and revisit. Maybe we've got the wrong customer problem. Maybe we've got the wrong ideal state. Maybe we've got the wrong metric that isn't helping us. So we can start to reframe that as we learn things. All right. Now, one thing I do want to call out here is when you think about this thing that we're describing, you may think that, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do for an individual little user story that we deliver once a week, but how does that really equate to my entire organization? Well, one thing that we want to really emphasize here is that what we're describing here, this approach of the metrics and identifying those customer problem statements and ideal states, applies to all the different altitudes of everything that we do. And it starts all the way up the top there, right? So yes, we're going to look at that vision and mission. What are the key success metrics that we care about there? What are we going to watch for our organization at the highest level of the organization? As we start decomposing that into some key strategic priorities, what are we going to look at for those priorities? So in our example, you can see on the right-hand side there, we want to win at e-commerce. Okay, well, how do we know that we're winning? Well, how many site visitors we have, or how many people completed a checkout? All right, cool. So now let's talk about what we're going to do this year. Well, this year we're going to focus on improving the browsing experience, and there we're going to measure, how many people I place the item into the shopping cart. Now, and so on and so forth. We start getting closer and closer and closer to the tactical things that we're doing every day, but you can start to see that those metrics are flowing all the way down. Now, as we approach that bottom altitude every day, we're not necessarily so much focused now at that customer obsession level, but we are focused on that team performance, those agility metrics that we started with. So we want to make sure that the team is operating at maximum efficiency, and through that, they're delivering those customer outcomes that we're measuring with those metrics at all of those altitudes. All right. So if you're a smaller organization like a startup, you might not be thinking about that 3 to 5 year strategic priority, but maybe you will eventually. You'll start to sort of expand out that view of going week to week or sprint to sprint or month to month, and start thinking about that next 3 months and thinking about those initiatives for the next 12 months. And just I encourage you to draw those metrics up and out as you do that, as you grow as an organization. All right, so let's leave this section with just a pro tip here. When you are doing these metrics, don't forget to collect the data. All right, so just identifying the metric and writing it down is not good enough. Yeah. You actually need the data. So as you build this feature and you deploy it into your platform, don't forget to build the thing that collects the data that shows that it's making a difference as well, because you don't want to do that as an afterthought. You don't want to deploy the feature and then a month later deploy the thing to collect the data to find out whether the feature worked. Too late at that point. All right, so build those things alongside, make sure that you're making that data visible and bringing it into whatever dashboards or feedback loops that you need in order to know that you're helping in delivering customer benefit. Okay, all right, so we're gonna now sort of jump to a quick summary before we get into any Q&A. Here's the bottom line. Don't forget these things. Don't forget that Agile and agility is about the team. Building high-performing teams that form social connections really, really matters. This is the anchor for everything else that you'll do, all the other successes that you will have. All right, the highest performing teams that we have out there are the ones that almost feel family-like. Right, they just love working together, and they built these tight social bonds, and we can't emphasize this one enough. Next one, make sure that you're focusing on the outcomes, right? It's not about being agile or not being agile or anything like that. Agile and design thinking and those kind of tools and practices are only as good as how they support your agility outcomes, right? So make sure you're deciding on what you're going to focus on first, and then come back and start plucking the various agile practices or frameworks that help support that, all right? But it's about the outcome, not about the agile. Make sure that as you're measuring these things, don't wander into those individual, this engineer versus that engineer. Try and keep the team anchored on a high performing team, and not sort of driving divisions within the team. So have those team metrics that are focused around the agility outcomes, and also, customer obsession, customer obsession, customer obsession. Layer in the measurement of that customer obsession in everything that you do. So you've got these high-performing teams delivering these amazing customer obsession outcomes, and you've got data that backs all that up, and you'll be able to make some really amazing decisions effectively based on that. Okay, success, don't forget all those levels that we talked about, right? Yes, you want to measure the tactical story. This is what we're doing this week, but layer in those success metrics and make sure that you're solving for those problems and ideal states as you go all the way up all of those altitudes. Okay, that's it. We're going to stop there. We'll throw it open to any questions that you might have. Feel free to ask us questions now. Or if you don't have any questions right now, that's fine as well. Feel free to reach out to either Raju or I on LinkedIn. You can also contact us via the Intuit Agile Twitter handle. If you're interested in that document that shows all of the agility outcome metrics and the Agile practices that we are currently using and thinking about, that's the link there. That's the QR code that'll take you to that same URL. It's a PDF document. Feel free to grab that at any time. And peruse through it. Again, don't feel like that's the magic answer. Those metrics in there are just the ones that we are finding interesting right now. You may find them interesting, or you may find other metrics out there. Don't feel like that's the right or wrong answer there. All right.
Ian, I see 3-4 questions came in the chat.
Sure.
So maybe I'll ask here
Sure.
so that you can answer some of them. So one is on the metrics, right? So how do we know that we are measuring too little or too much? It's sometimes like you list out like 10 metrics and then try to measure everything, and maybe they are not really resulting in the right outcomes.
Yeah.
So how do we ensure that I'm looking for that? I mean, they're looking for that guide also if there is anything out there.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, with metrics, what you're trying to do is to become sort of data driven, and it's always an interesting question. Like, well, how much data is too much data? Do we have the right data? And I sort of encourage you to look at those outcomes. They're either the customer obsession, your primary success metric outcomes, your agility outcomes. Start there. Start with one, right? And see if it's actually helping. Right? Don't immediately go down and say, okay, we're going to collect 50, supporting metrics for that one. Maybe just start with 2 or 3. If you are finding that your practice metrics, for example, on the agility side, if they are starting to move, but your outcome metric is not, you might not have the right metric. All right. Same thing with your customer success metrics. If you find that your overall goal, let's say of improving e-commerce, is to drive site visitors, but your changes at your feature level are improving, but you're not getting more site visitors, maybe you've got the wrong metrics there. All right. So just look for that what we call the leading and trailing impact. If you're seeing leading impact but not trailing impact, then you might want to revisit. But I encourage you to embrace one of our core Agile principles, which is work in progress limiting, right? So just to start with that small focus set and expand it out and try swapping out different metrics depending on what you're finding.
Cool. So another question on the agility outcomes. I think they like the way we put out the agility outcomes for Intuit. So is it like as a startup company, so their aim is to get that more sales out, or like the more adoptions going there. So they need to identify their agility outcome first, which is not in one of the 6, right? Because increasing the sales is a different one. So they may want to.
It's a great one.
How do you identify those agility outcomes for their organization?
Sure. So actually what you're talking about there is not one of the agility outcomes. It's that layer above that. So if you remember that Intuit has true north goals, certain things that we want to aspirationally do for our customers, our employees, and our shareholders, there are metrics for those as well. So for example, in the customer side, yeah, we might have a so-called sort of true north metric, which is driving us to the number of customers or how many new customers we're solving or adding. The agility outcomes are the things that we're going to do in support of that ultimate true north metric. So as our teams are happier, we're delivering higher quality, we're being more predictable, we're getting there faster, we're maximizing the customer benefit delivery, our customer happiness score is increasing. Those are sort of the input metrics that will help us drive additional customer adoption. All right, and so you can think even beyond the agility metrics up into that, another hierarchy above that, right, which is those true north. Sometimes they call it the North Star metrics of the organization.
Okay, I think it's clear. So, and then last question I see in the chat is about the you put like a lot of P's in the different practices that's being used. Is there any one place where they can go and check it out, like what practices out there that they can choose and apply those to their principles, right? Like principles towards the agility.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's just a massive amount of information out there, both about Agile and its various frameworks, both in sort of Team Agile and Scaled Agile that's out there. There's great stuff all over the place. There is also just you know, an amazing amount of information around design thinking approaches, including our own one, like Design for Delight. You can find that out on the web. But it can feel like the sea of amazing, you know, stuff, but I have no idea how to bring it to bear. So the document that this link takes us to, that Measure Agility, it does try to paint a little bit of a picture of that. So you'll see in that document some of those outcomes, speed, quality, etc. And then we've listed in there for you some of the practices that we are currently thinking about and liking. That does not mean that that is a comprehensive list and that's the only source of truth. Definitely do not read it as that. Feel free to bring to bear practices that you see outside of that document, obviously, and I'm sure that you have some interesting practices within your own organizations that you're developing or have developed that may or may not come from an established framework. Mix and match is the example there. It's great to start with a fixed prescriptive framework like a Scrum or a design thinking framework, but at some point you are going to start to flex on that as you mature as an organization, and you're going to start to draw different practices from different flavors of Agile or different design thinking approaches, and we certainly encourage you to start thinking about that. So think in the longer term of mixing and matching from these different aspects and finding what's right for your organization.
I think that reminded me one thought I just want to share here is about never start any discussion or anything about, like, you know, with the word agile. So rather you see what outcomes or what you wanted to achieve, and then see how the agile can help you. So that's how you approach these.
Yeah, totally. I can't emphasize and support that enough. You know, when we get people come to us and say, hey, come make me agile, you know, we're always going to respond with a response something along the lines of, sure, but can you rephrase that question without using the word agile? Agile is just a tool. Design thinking is a bunch of tools, but supporting what? Why are you asking the question? And it's really going usually back to one of those agility outcomes. My team is low morale. I need to go faster. I need my customers to be happier.
Don't see any other questions on chat.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. If you've managed to make it all the way through this, either live or listening later, feel free to reach out to us if you have follow-up questions. We'd be more than happy to engage with you and support you. Other than that, thank you, and thank you, Raju, for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Ian, and thanks everyone for joining the call, and wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you.